Darth Vader was at the height of his power. After years of use, he now understood the full strength and limitations of the precious black suit of armor that kept his body alive. And after countless hours spent in meditation, ruminating on the dark side and all of its lore, Vader had managed to nearly master its ways. But much to Palpatine's dismay, Vader decided to use his new strength against one of his master's favorite toys, the Order of Inquisitors. So what happened when Darth Sidious, the most powerful Sith in the galaxy, was forced to confront Vader about his reckless killing? Join us as we answer these questions and more in today's underrated moment. The former Jedi Temple on Coruscant was now a sad sight to see. As the distant single sun of the Imperial capital fell beyond the horizon, only the massive torches outside the temple remained for light. And as their orange flames illuminated the brown exterior of the building, they revealed much has changed. Instead of the ribbons and flags that would often decorate the temple in celebration of a special festival or event, giant red banners of the Imperial Army draped the temple walls. This was now Palpatine's seat of power, his Imperial Palace. Inside the structure, the scarred, twisted Sith Master sat upon his Durasteel throne, his hands lazily stretched along the armrests at either side, one of which hid a secret compartment where his red lightsaber could eject at a moment's notice. On the other side, two crimson guards, one draped in blue formal attire during the Age of the Republic, was now adorned in frightening red gowns, and at the very center of the throne, on his knees, Darth Vader kneeled to the ground. "You claim these Inquisitors you killed were traitors. Fair enough," Palpatine said as he began the uncomfortable but much-needed conversation with his apprentice. "But tell me, Lord Vader, where is your evidence?" For years, Darth Vader had used the pale-skinned Grand Inquisitor and his subordinates as a personal army. But all too often, Vader would use the Inquisitors as the target of his anger. In early years, the Sith Lord would frequently ignite his red lightsaber and turn its blade towards the Jedi Hunters, hacking off legs and arms in order to quench his rage. But more recently, Vader had outright killed two of the Inquisitors, and with Force users in short supply, Palpatine didn't like the idea of such a valuable asset being so carelessly thrown away. Vader tried to reason his way out of the situation. He described how the two Inquisitors, a female and a male hunter, who were actually in a budding romantic relationship, could pose a threat to Palpatine's regime. Recently, the female Inquisitor nearly let a Force-sensitive baby escape from a hunt, an act of compassion that could have cost the Empire dearly in years to come, if the infant ever fully realized its Force powers. And her kindness, the mere fact that she wasn't willing to so ruthlessly kill on behalf of her commander, Darth Vader, would have eventually brought the two to blows. "She was building a coalition against us. I removed the infection before it could," Vader said, after he had concluded his report to Palpatine. As Sidious sat and listened, he realized that his apprentice made a good point. Technically, the Inquisitors did make a fatal mistake, and yes, their sign of compassion could be considered treasonous. Despite it being a relatively small act of betrayal, it would only be a matter of time before the two Inquisitors would become more bold, and potentially actually strike out against Vader and Palpatine whenever they decided a particular Jedi hunt was unjust. But Darth Sidious was growing increasingly wary of the terror Vader was commanding across citizens of the Empire. With a simple gesture, Palpatine waved at the smoke-filled rubble of Coruscant just beyond the windows of the throne room. This was the devastation that Vader had caused in his brief hunt for the two Inquisitors. "Do you realize, my apprentice, that your actions cost the life of a senator important to my plans?" Palpatine said as he bent a crooked finger at Vader's expressionless black mask. "She was trysting in a park and you dropped a speeder on her." It was true. In the day's hunt, Vader had wreaked havoc across Coruscant, and the casualties were in the double digits. Palpatine suddenly rose from his chair and walked closer to Vader. In previous years, he might have used his powers in the dark side to teach Vader a lesson. It wasn't uncommon for Sidious to unleash a volley of painful Sith lightning against his apprentice whenever Vader acted out of turn. But today, for some reason, Palpatine decided to try and reason with his apprentice. "If I cannot maintain order here, the seat of my power, whispers will begin that I cannot maintain it in other worlds." This type of restraint was a rare display from the cruel Sith Master. In a sign of further rebellion, Vader seemed to ignore his master's appeal and offered a cold counterpoint. "You gave the Inquisitors to me," Vader stated. In his mind, the Inquisitors and whatever he did with them was entirely up to him. If he wanted to, he could cut off their arms, slice up their legs, and even kill them. The Inquisitors weren't actually Sith. According to Palpatine's own admission, So they were merely former Jedi that served Vader's purpose, and just like any other Jedi, Vader could kill them whenever the mood struck. Realizing that the cost of correcting his apprentice would be too high, Palpatine didn't try to change Skywalker's mind. Instead, he came to a different solution for the problem at hand. They are yours, but they will no longer be here. I will move the Inquisitors to a new base off-planet. This will not happen again, Palpatine said sternly. He wasn't willing to take away the Inquisitors from Vader's command. Sidious smartly realized that without the Inquisitors around to absorb Vader's rage, his apprentice might turn towards him. But the distance between Vader's home on Coruscant, his castle on Mustafar, and the Inquisitor's base on the outer rim world of Nur would be far enough to dissuade the Sith Lord from indulging the sudden murderous waves of emotions that sometimes overwhelmed Vader.